What's up, everybody? On this week's episode of Movie Time, we're going to talk about The Gray Man. Do the Russo brothers have a future outside of Marvel? And was $200 million the right amount of money for Netflix to pay for this movie? Talk about all that on Movie Time. So sit back, relax, get your snack, eat your popcorn. You know what time it is. It's Movie Time now. What's happening, y'all? It's movie time. Got myself, Renee, LOWKEY GEEK here, running solo. Blake the Wolf, unfortunately, was not able to join me on this episode due to scheduling conflicts. So you're stuck with me. Deal with it. I'm sorry. So this will probably be a shorter episode, but definitely wanted to talk about The Gray Man since that's the latest movie that has the internet abuzz and Netflix kind of high-fiving each other saying, yeah, we did it. We spent 200 million and it seems to work. Now let's make it a universe. Let's make it a franchise or what have you. But yeah, we'll talk all about that stuff. So thank you for those returning and tuning in. If you are new and you just happen to come across this channel and you're wondering who's this bozo on the video screen right here, well, I'm Renee. LOWKEY GEEK, that's the channel. That's the YouTube channel here. We do this weekly episode where two buds talk about and bullshit about movies. Right now, it's just me, so I'm just going to be bullshitting by myself, but it's okay. I'm having a conversation with all of you watching and listening. So if you're new, welcome. If you haven't done so already and you like what you see, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. But most importantly, I love conversations, and I've had some great conversations with a lot of viewers and listeners. So don't forget, leave your comments. Let me know what your thoughts are on the video or the movie we're talking about. And in this case, it is The Gray Man. Would love to hear your thoughts and what you, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree or disagree with anything I've said, please let's have a great conversation about it. And hit that notification bell as well so that you can get notified every time a new video is uploaded on the channel. And if you prefer to listen in an audio format, you can find the LOWKEY GEEK channel there on your podcast platform of choice, where you could find this episode and many others uploaded there as well. And if you do happen to go there and you download an episode, thank you. Keep doing that. And if it prompts you, leave an awesome rating, because that can really go a long way. And it's free. Doesn't cost you a thing. The liking, the subscribing, I'm not asking you for any money. It'd be great if you want to show additional support and you happen to see an ad play throughout the video. Check out the ad. If it's something that you're interested in, use the links provided in the description there, and it will help earn the channel some money so we could keep this train rolling, and it'll be much appreciated. But with that, all that out of the way, let's talk about The Gray Man. So when I heard the news, which is interesting news, when Netflix funded the Russos' next project that is outside of the Marvel universe, I thought that was cool. I thought, hey, that's great. The Russos are going to try their hand at doing other movies, because they obviously cannot just be tied to Marvel, right? But they've done an amazing job in a lot of the Marvel movies they were a part of. The Captain Americas, your Endgame and Infinity War and all that stuff. They did an amazing job with those things. But one who is a fan of movies, you oftentimes will get curious about, well, what can they do outside of that realm? But the shocker of that news that broke was that Netflix spent $200 million as a budget for this movie to be made, for a title, or I should say an IP, that not a lot of people probably even know about. Now, The Gray Man is based off of a series of novels, but it's something that I personally was not familiar with. So I'm curious if any of you were familiar with those novels and, how it translates onto the screen there. But 200 million, and it is the most expensive budgeted project that Netflix has gone into business with, especially with two directors there. Now, you think, okay, the Russos have proven themselves very well, and, it's probably worth the money. But with how Netflix has been going lately, they're constantly in debt. They're losing subscribers, right? Because of all of that stuff, they have recently announced that they are altering their business approach, right? They're not going to be spending so much money on IPs and properties and all that stuff like that. They're going to be a little bit more selective. So this is probably the last time we're going to hear such a big amount of money has been spent on a certain project. Now, previously, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was The Irishman, the Martin Scorsese movie with De Niro and all that. They came out several years ago, and the triumphant return of Joe Pesci. But it was like, what, 6 hours long or something like that. So I wouldn't say that was like a triumph. Now, this apparently was. It pretty much overtook the number one spot as far as streaming on the Netflix platform. It now, as of the recording of this episode, and I'm recording this on Thursday night, the 28th, it beat Stranger Things season 4, Umbrella Academy, and basically, like I said, it took over the number one spot as far as the most streaming program on Netflix. And now they made an announcement that they're going to be working on a sequel, and it looks like now this is going to be a new universe that the Russo brothers are going to be helming on Netflix, which is awesome. But what about the movie? How was it? I'll tell you. First of all, the runtime wasn't that bad. 2 hours and 2 minutes. It literally flew by for me personally. I was pretty much entertained all throughout. I don't feel like there is a very solid story base there. It's pretty okay. Let me try to lay it out for you. Basically, the way I felt about the movie is the Russo brothers obviously are fans of, they're nerds and they love old school action movies. I'm sure they're huge fans of Speed and The Rock, Rush Hour, and movies like that. I'm sure they're huge fans of that movie, of those movies, right? Even like going back to like the 80s and the 90s, cheese type action movies. You could tell they're huge fans of it. I also feel like they sat down. Michael Bay one day was probably giving like a action movies webinar or seminar or a master class, right? And they were probably the first to attend it. They're sitting there front row, front and center. And they just took all the notes because there were so many Bayisms throughout this movie. Now, there wasn't like the spinning camera angle, or anything like that. That is a signature Bay move. But somehow the memo went out that drones are the next big thing for action movies. If you watched Ambulance, Michael Bay used the shit out of those things. And it does create a certain visual aspect to action movies that I actually appreciate. It wasn't that bad. But the Russos pretty much did the same exact thing. Now, the Russos did a little bit something different when it comes to drones. And basically, you could tell that they were using it as part of the action sequences and all that stuff like that. But it wasn't all like live shots. You could tell like some shots were kind of altered and maybe like kind of stitched together with some CG and all that stuff like that. And you could tell by some of the transitions, some of that was done. So it wasn't all full like live shots like what Michael Bay did in Ambulance, but it does create for some interesting visual aspects. This movie is super fast paced. Oh my God. I felt like I couldn't take a breath all throughout the 2 hours. There were some moments where it kind of like calmed down a little bit, allowed you to kind of catch up, relax a bit in between all the action scenes and all that. But my God, it was like scene after scene after scene and something after something after something and blah, 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 blah. Like it was just, it drove me nuts. It was just like, what's happening? Oh no, this, that. Oh my God, we're going over there. Got shot. Yeah. It was insanity. But for whatever reason, and maybe I am not amongst, from what I've seen, the movie has been mixed as far as reviews are concerned, but I was entertained. I enjoyed it. I was like, Yeah, there were a lot of scenes that were very campy and cheesy, and you know, it's interesting that the Russos really have a particular style. Um, and there are certain scenes that I would just laugh at because it's very absurd or very over the top, or they try to squeeze in like some comical moments in there, and it's very much what you've expected if you are a fan of their Marvel films. Um, First thing that comes to mind is Winter Soldier, right? That or Civil War. Like it is so much in alignment with those type of movies where it's a lot of seriousness and action and all that stuff like that. But there's a lot of moments where it's like over the top. Chris Evans, his villainous role in this movie was very enjoyable, but at moments it was extremely over the top. Where he's always making smart, witty comments. But it felt like the type of villains that you would see in, for example, like Lethal Weapon. Always with the quips and all that stuff like that. And again, you could tell that they've borrowed from a lot of their love and fandom of these classic action movies, and they kind of use their own stylings to pay homage to all of that stuff. But they do have a certain style, and it does feel like you're watching a non-Marvel movie. That's what I took away from it. It was very, very similar to a Marvel movie, with the exception being that there are no superheroes in it. You take out Captain America, you take out Winter Soldier, you take out Black Widow, and all that stuff like that, and you just replace it with so and so Ryan Gosling, so and so Chris Evans, and so, Ana de Armas. There you go. It's the same type of movie, but everyone within their roles are superheroes. No one really dies. No one really gets, well, some, again, we'll talk about spoilers in a minute, but some people do catch the business at the end and all that. But really, it's like nothing is impossible with these people. They're like supercharged human beings who can do everything. But it was entertaining. I have to admit, it was thoroughly entertaining despite the craziness and frenetic energy and all that stuff like that. Let's talk about. I talked a lot about the action scenes and the way the movie was put together. Like I said, it really does feel like you're watching a comic book movie, a superhero comic book movie. They even, you know what? The movie was entertaining. The acting and the chemistry was really good. I want to talk more in depth about a lot of the things. So I'm going to go into some spoiler territory. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and you don't want to be spoiled, I ask that you bookmark this, come back to it later, and then you could kind of like, share your thoughts about everything else. But I am curious. Do let me know what you think about The Gray Man. Was this something that you feel like the $200 million was very well spent and you're looking forward to the franchise that they're going to create now? Or was this just shallow fluff and you were just like, meh? I know for a fact that even though I wasn't able to do this episode with Blake, that was his feeling. He was kind of like, meh, shrugged shoulders and all like that. And I'm very curious as to what it was that kind of didn't do it for him, so hope maybe eventually down the line we'll talk about it. But like I said, it worked for me. I was entertained. Was it like one of the greatest action movies I've ever seen? No. But for those 2 hours that I was sitting there, I was, thoroughly pretty entertained for the most part. It got me to enjoy some action scenes. It got some chuckles out of me. Yeah, there were some like eye roll moments too. But for the most part, it was just pretty entertaining. But I just love the one major takeaway that about this movie is the chemistry amongst the entire cast. Like everyone looked like they were enjoying themselves. Everyone was, all dialed in. Even Billy Bob Thornton, he was all in on this, and I thought he did for the role that he had. I thought he did an amazing job. And let's not ignore Dhanush, the famous Indian action actor there. Woo! That dude was phenomenal. I'm glad we were able to see him on the screen there, and I really, really can't wait and hope I can see more of him in the future. But yeah, let me know your thoughts about the movie as a whole. I liked it, and I'm wondering if you liked it as well. So, hey guys, I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. But before we continue, I wanted to quickly talk about Bulletproof Coffee. Bulletproof Coffee is my favorite coffee of choice to start off my mornings with. Why? Because it's clean coffee. What does that mean? Well, one, there are no chemicals in it. Why? Because they go through this multi-step process of making sure that all of their beans are fully clean and free of any chemicals, so that when you get the beans delivered to you, it is the pure beans, the pure coffee, the goodness that you've been wanting, the taste, the flavor, and the nutritional value as well, without worrying about any added chemicals or anything else put into the mix there. It also doesn't have that weird acidic taste that some coffees give you. I don't know how about you, but for me, some coffees kind of give me that weird sensation in my stomach, makes me a little burpy, and it kind of drags me down a little bit instead of really waking me up, which is something that I need from my coffee every day. Bulletproof also offers a lot of keto-friendly snacks and supplements, anything that you need to kind of add to your everyday nutritional needs, add to your diet, and pretty much transforms the way you feel every day. So for a limited time, if you use this code that you see on the screen right now, LOWKEY GEEK, all caps, one word, you can get 15% off your order. So what is it better than that, right? Check out the link in the description of this episode. Use this code, get yourself your discount, and make your mornings a little bit more bulletproof with Bulletproof Coffee. Now, back to the episode. That being said, I'm going to go into spoiler territory right now, just because I don't want to feel like I have to kind of censor myself as I'm saying certain things, right? So let's talk about some of the acting and all that. That the action scenes were very well done. The best action scene and the most frenetic, the most chaotic, was when they were in Prague. There is this moment where Ryan Gosling's character, who goes by the name of Court Gentry, a very, very interesting name there, Court Gentry. He was going to Prague because they are trying to locate, or he's trying to locate, one of his former mentors, played by the brilliant Alfre Woodard, who, again, this is a star-studded cast. It's amazing how many people were in this movie. But yeah, Alfre, she, older in age, suffering from lung cancer, residing in Prague. So he decides to go over there to get her help. And all the bad guys figure out, and bad guys being Chris Evans and his henchmen and hired guns, who are after Ryan Gosling, Court, because he's in possession of a microfiche. No, not, could you imagine? He has the microfiche and we have to get it back. When was microfiche, kind of outdated? I remember all the action movies back in the day. It always had to deal with microfiche. The microfiche. He's in possession of the microfiche. But no, it's in this day and age, he's in the possession of a thumb drive, right? A USB thumb drive. Chris Evans' character goes by Lloyd Hansen. Good old Lloyd Hansen. Yeah, so basically, Court had a job, found out the person that he was going up against, who was Sierra 4. Court is considered Sierra 6. These are operatives working for the CIA, but in the gray area, meaning they're under the radar. No one knows anything about them. No one knows whatever they do. That's why they can get away with a lot of stuff. But at the same time, if they die, oh well, no one knows that either, right? So that's kind of the caveat there. So Court is Sierra 6. So very similar to like a Mission Impossible or a Bond movie where you encounter the previous 00 or whatever the case is. He encounters his previous, person in that role, who is in possession of all this incriminating evidence against the new head of this division in the CIA, Denny, right? Played by Regé-Jean Page, right? This guy's getting a lot of work, so it's interesting to see him pop up in a lot of things. So there's some incriminating evidence there, and Ryan's like, "Uh-oh, like this is not what I signed up for." So he decides to take it, and then he kind of now he's on the run, knowing what he's in possession of. Chris Evans Lloyd is kind of like kind of like a hitman for hire for the CIA or whatever the case is, but he's also part of this gray area where he can get away with a lot of crazy stuff that may not be fully sanctioned by the CIA or whatever the case is. So he's now in charge of going after him, going after Ryan there, right? So the whole deal with Prague was that he, court needs to find a way to decode all this incriminating evidence to download and possibly share it with the press or whatever, just blow things up, right? To kind of open the window and do whatever you need to do with it, right? To, put down the regime, so to speak. So they go there, and then Chris catches wind that he's there, and Chris now hires all of these like men for hire. Basically, there's like 3 teams of like 6 or 7 or 8 people, right, that are now in Prague trying to get Ryan, right, and everything. And this action sequence felt like it was 30 minutes. It was a huge chunk of the middle part of the movie, and it was just once shit hits the fan and once the action started, you better have made sure you went to the bathroom already, because you didn't want to miss anything, because literally it was like stuff after stuff after stuff after stuff. It just kept going and going and going, and it was freaking crazy and nuts. And Ana de Armas, who's also part of the CIA, is now helping him because she's also believes that what he's doing is the right thing to do, and this and that, and then she's driving Fast and Furious style down the streets and doing this and doing that. Ryan is freaking running on runaway trains and buildings blowing up all around him, in the middle of a court square with all of this shootout happening and not getting hurt, and being able to flip here and flip there and all that stuff like that, dodging bullets all over the place. It was insane, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. That was like probably the most nutty, intense action scene in the whole movie. And if you wanted like a good litmus test of what the Russos can do when it comes to action scenes, boom, you had it right there. I mean, you already saw what they could do with the Captain Americas. You already saw what they could do with the Infinity War and Endgame. But this is just like real world Michael Bay kind of nuttiness, Bruckheimer, all that stuff. Insert over the top action directors here type of, sequences. But like I said, it was very entertaining. As far as the performances are concerned, I thought Ryan felt at home with the role of Court. He is, I guess, technically the Captain America of this movie. Or maybe more in alignment with a Jason Bourne or Ethan Hunt, right? Because it is very Mission Impossible like, or if you want to compare it to Lethal Weapon, he's probably more along the lines of the Mel Gibson. Ana de Armas is like Danny Glover, but that's not even a good comparison because she's not old and she's not complaining how she's too old for this shit or whatever. But the team up of Ryan and Ana de Armas was very well done. I thought they worked really well together. And God, I want to see more of Ana de Armas. I really do. When especially after seeing her in the last James Bond movie, and now seeing her here, I want to see more of her in action movies. I also do want to see more of her in the serious side. That's why I'm very excited for Blonde coming out. When she's portraying the Marilyn Monroe character there. So I'm very, very excited to see what she can do with that type of movie. But the chemistry they had together was great. Like I said before, Chris Evans is brilliant as the villainous character here. Previously we saw kind of like a sort of villainous role in Knives Out. He was playing kind of like a, not favorable type of character, but you could tell that Chris has a lot of fun doing this. You know, a lot of it is tongue in cheek and smirks and all this kind of stuff like that. But there are moments where he could be very, very menacing, and it's nice to see him kind of get out of that whole Boy Scout role, because he's been playing Captain America for how long now, right? So it is kind of hard to not see that. Like I admit, as I was watching the movie, I was like, oh, it's Steve Rogers with a mustache. But allow yourself to kind of put that out of your head. And I think Chris did a really good job there. You could tell like the actors really trust the Russos, and the Russos are also very comfortable with working with the same people. Because I feel like that's what made the movie seamless, especially with Chris Evans. The guy who played Sierra 4 was also in the Marvel Universe. Um, you know, I mean, Ryan wasn't, or Ana de Armas wasn't, but I could see how they could be. I mean, I feel like they fit right in with it all. The one unfortunate thing is, like, I'm a big fan of Jessica Henwick. I think she's had great roles in the past. If you've watched Devs, I thought she was really good in that. Ex Machina back in the day, but her character was very downplayed in this movie. It started to pick up more at the end, but at that point it was just like, all right, we're just closing out the movie and now you're kind of rising here. So it would be really, really great to see how how her character progresses once they continue on with this franchise. Because throughout most of the movie, she was just sitting back and being like, "Why are you doing this? We're gonna get arrested!" Oh, as Chris Evans is just going nuts, sending people and people and people to their deaths, trying to like get capture Ryan, Ryan's character there, and she's just like, "This is illegal!" Da 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 da. I would love, but then at the end, she's just like, with the final battle at the end between Court and Lloyd, right? Which was okay, but I felt like this was like one of the more annoying parts of the movie because every time Chris Evans got hurt, he always had something smart to say, right? He was like, "Oh, that's smart," and all that. But she, seeing that he's already down and out, she just goes and shoots him, right? So I felt like you are now seeing the potential of her character coming out, but it was a little bit too late, So that was a little bit disappointing. And like I said, Billy Bob Thornton was great. Alfre Woodard for her small role was really good. Dhanush, Dhanush. That dude is fast. He's great with action scenes. He's kind of slippery and sly, and he has swagger and all that. Like, that dude was phenomenal. Again, I would love to see him in more movies like this, more American movies. He's already very popular and well known in India and all that. But I would really, really love to see more of him. So yeah, so the acting, like I said, the ensemble cast was really good. And you could see here, like, there's just so many people in this movie. And like I said, the chemistry was really on point. I thought, they did a really good job there. The actions, the movie itself, the pacing, I mean, that's the thing that's probably gonna throw a lot of people off because, like I said, if you're familiar with fast-paced movies, especially action movies, buckle up because this just turns it up to 11. It's just insane on how fast everything was. I was mentioning Marvelisms and bringing the Marvel style to their movie. I laughed and cracked up at the end credits because even the credits were Marvel like, where they had like the very stylized imagery of each of the character and some of the action sequences as they're going through the credits, and then as they're doing the roll call of like Ryan Gosling, they have like they're basically statues, right? So it's a statue of this scene from a movie or that scene from a movie. It's very Marvel like, just like how you've seen with at the ending of like Captain America, Winter Soldier, or Civil War. or Endgame, where it's like, sometimes it's drawn out stills or silhouettes and all that stuff. You know what I'm talking about if you're familiar with the movies and all that. So I cracked up and I thought it was really, really hilarious to see them kind of use that for themselves. I don't think they've invented that style. I feel like Marvel has already had those type of end credits, like those type of sequencing. So I guess they just, they said like, well, we could borrow that, right? What are you guys gonna do? You're not gonna say anything. So yeah, but overall, like I said, I was very entertained. I thought they did a really good job. Um, I am curious to see where this can go for the franchise. But at the same time, I am also very curious to see what else the Russos can do. They can do action. Uh, they started their careers in comedy. Can they do a comedic movie, like a full-on comedy? I would love to see something like that. But of course, me being, kind of uh, referential and kind of like I like what I like, and territorial, I should say. I would love to see them eventually go back to Marvel and do other Marvel movies because their style fits the Marvel tone and the Marvel framework extremely well. Like I said, you watch this movie, it totally feels like a Marvel movie, with the exception of like there are no known characters in it. So yeah, so I'm very, very curious to see what else they can do moving forward on their own. But yeah, not much really to talk about, about this movie. Like again, like I said before, I am very curious to hear what all of you think about the movie. Was this something that maybe you weren't interested in watching? Then maybe, I piqued your interest a teeny bit. I've been told that in the past where, someone was not interested in the movie and then after hearing me talk about it, they changed their mind. They watched it and that they were happy that they did. One good example of that would be Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was a very unknown movie when it first came out. Not a lot of people knew about it. But after hearing the conversation I had with Blake about it, they decided to go out and watch it, and they were so happy that they did. So I wonder. Now, I'm not going to say that this is the same thing. This is not an Everything Everywhere All at Once thing. First of all, this is definitely more accessible. It's on Netflix, and a lot of you have Netflix. It's just taking the time out and watching it, giving it a shot. And I think if anything, if you are a fan of the Marvel movies, if you are a fan of old school action movies, like I said, I can go down the list: Lethal Weapon, Rush Hour, Speed, The Rock, maybe some Beverly Hills Cop. Just like a lot of those like classic action movies. This has a lot of those feels in it, and you can tell that they structured and took a lot of lessons learned from being a fan of those movies and making their own movie, kind of in homage to all of those movies from the past, and I'm sure the movies that they grew up with. So yeah, like I said, shorter episode this week. Definitely we'll be back next week with another episode. Hopefully Blake and I can sort our schedules and be on together. But again, let me know what you think of the movie. Let me know if this is something that was up your alley or if you were disappointed with it. Regardless of the case, would love to hear your thoughts. But that is the episode this week. Again, stay tuned for a future episode coming next week. Again, I think next week, well, there are two movies coming out next week. So there's Bodies, 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 and then there's Bullet Train. So I guess we'll decide what we're going to talk about if we could get our schedule sorted there. But thank you again for joining and watching. Again, if you want to follow me, you see all the handles on the screen there in front of you. All the description, all the links and everything can be found in the description of this episode. Do subscribe, hit that like button, comment, please comment. Let me know your thoughts about everything. Hit that notification bell so that you could be notified of future uploads. And if you listen on audio formats, Lowkey Geek channel right there, audio on your podcast platform of choice. Look for this episode and look for any of our previous episodes there. So really appreciate all the support. I'll see you all next week. Stay cool, stay classy, stay safe. Stay safe. I'm Renee. This has been Movie Time. Peace out, y'all. Bye-bye.